So, welcome to Prop Talk episode 3. My name is Ross. I've got Ryan with me, the other co-founder of Prop Firms Compared. And we also have a CEO with us today called John Novak, and he's the CEO of Nexgen ProTrader Funding. And they are one of our rising stars here at Prop Firms Compared. And that's the space we're giving to the new, the growing, the thirsty, the hungry firms that are bursting into the market and are trying to grab your attention. So we're picking the brains of various people from across that ecosystem, seeing what they're up to, why you should be checking them out, and give them some of your attention, your time, and hopefully give them a try at some point as well. So, John, if I could ask you to give yourself a quick introduction to the audience, please.
Absolutely. My name is John Novak. Obviously, CEO of Nexgen ProTrader Funding and Nexgen Software Services, our other business. Really look forward to having a chat with you guys today.
Cool. We were just chatting away off camera before we started this, and it is pretty clear that you have been in this industry a long old while. So to kind of kick off a little bit differently, I guess the first question is, what is your opinion of the industry in its kind of current form and its current state from what you've kind of seen of a massive evolution across decades worth of trading?
Yeah, well, I think number one, it's exciting. It's an evolving, exciting business that it gives traders a lot of really great opportunities that when I started in this business at 96, we just didn't have these opportunities. So it allows, we used to fund accounts with 15 or 20 grand and blow it, and then refund them with 15 or 20 grand and blow it. And now learning to trade and learning to deal with the pressure of trading through the prop firms is really very exciting. I like it a lot.
And you said you kind of got dragged into this industry, kind of kicking and screaming. Just talk about how how you kind of got to this kind of start point with Nexgen.
Well, it was interesting. I was 25 and waiting tables, bartending mostly. And a buddy of mine that worked with me had left to go work for a firm to do sales. And he used to come in all the time going, "You need to come check out this place." And I had a 1-year-old and a newborn. And I was making 45 grand a year at 25 in the 90s, which was pretty good. And we had great insurance, which was really important for the kids. And I just kept saying, no, no, no. And one day I was bartending and he came in and he went, slapped his check down on the thing. I said, "What's that?" He said, 2 weeks. And I looked at it and it was like $14,000. And I was like, "All right, I'm off tomorrow. I'll be there and check it out." So I actually got my start in this business selling trading systems, basically commodity trading systems, long-term end-of-day type systems. And short version, I was doing I didn't know anything about the market. I knew zero, and I can really empathize with new traders that don't know what they're doing and don't understand, because it was 5 months. I never even sold a piece of software. I thought, this business isn't for me. And then I finally started to understand it. And, the guys were teaching me. And I think my first year I made from May to December, 75 grand. Second year, 160. Third year, I'm going on 27. I was making 250 grand a year. And unfortunately, the owner of the business was not a very nice guy. And he did some bad things, let's just say. And I could see on the writing on the wall that the business was going out of business. And during my time there, I had met a bunch of clients and a bunch of day traders. And one day trader in particular, Jerry Simmons, I'll give him a shout out if he ever watches this. He said, "I can predict where the market's going to go before it goes there." And I was like, "What the hell? There's no way you can do that." He said, "I can do it with Fibonacci, and I'm going to show you how." So I fell in love with the analysis, the technical analysis of the market and using Fibonacci. And we started doing seminars, 4-day seminars, Thursday through Sunday, where we teach people how to do Fibonacci, develop the levels, use trend line analysis, basically the whole framework set up for trading. And it was awful. So much work. If you guys have ever done a live seminar, a 1-day seminar takes a lot out of you. A 4-day seminar, bad idea. Anyway, short version, I said this software could be automated. We have enough rules and stuff in place. And so he said, "I don't want to have anything to do with it. I'm going to just go back to trading." So I said, "Well, I'm going to automate it." I had other clients who were programmers, and I said, let's build out this methodology. I said, how long? Because I need to start selling software so I can make money. And he said, 3 or 4 months will knock it out. Well, it was about a year. And
Always the case. Always the case with developers. We've had it time and time again.
So at the end of 1999, we started selling our Fibonacci based software, the T3 Fibs ProTrader, which we still do to this day. And we built trading plans and rules and training classes. We've actually run a live trading class since the year 2000. So we're on our 26th year of teaching people how to trade. So we're very, I would like to say we're very, very good at the top end of the spectrum of teaching people how to analyze their charts and how to trade and how to make money consistently. And, over the years, I guess about 3 or 4 years ago, everybody was really, I know Top Step had been out for a while, but when Apex came out, really started making a lot of noise and getting very busy. And I said, one of the biggest drawdowns for new traders is, and I even have, you can look up my Trustpilot with Apex because it says it perfectly. It says, the ability for new traders to not have the stress of losing a bunch of money is invaluable. And so we started promoting, Top Step, Take Profit, Apex. So we were doing that through our software side. And, it got to the point where it's like, we're giving away so much money. Why don't we just do it ourselves? How hard could it be? And well, anyway, so, that was in 24, the end of 24. And so NinjaTrader would put a lock on because they were selling their business to Kraken. So we couldn't do a NinjaTrader based version, which I know everybody wants. They control about 90% of the prop space. So I understand that. But I had been friends with and had worked with the owner of AMP Futures, Dan, for 25 years. I've known him. And he said, I've got a solution for you. Let's start it over here. And I said, okay, let's do it. So we ended up basically building out the whole back end, the engines and everything that needs to happen. And we did soft launch in May of last year, 2025. And we really went out in earnest to the public September-ish of last year. So, in the rising star status, we've got new status, but I feel, I just feel that we can do a really good job with our background on providing people with a really good opportunity to make money.
It's really interesting hearing that. And this has been sort of a recurring theme, to be honest, with some of the CEOs of some of the newer prop firms that we're speaking to and especially with yourself, you've got such a well-rounded history within the trading space, from the business side of things to the actual trading side of things to the technological side of things as well. And do you think that it's important for a CEO of a firm to have an understanding of some of those individual core assets of running a firm? Because there's a number of newer firms are, an influencer will put their name to it, and behind the scenes it's run by a group of late teens, early 20s, and do they really have the capability to sort of manage other people's money effectively? I say manage other people's money, not in the financial sense, but in the terms of running a business.
Right.
But yeah. Do you think that sort of acumen across multiple facets of the trading world is a benefit to you running your firm?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, the one thing there's a lot of prop firms that come and go. They come and go very quickly. And the reason they go is because, number one, they run out of money, or number two, they do things wrong. And, when we started this, I said, look, I want to look up, we're 28 years into our other Nexgen business as it is, and I want to have the same longevity. And in order to have that longevity, you've got to handle your business, you got to handle your clients, you got to really treat people in the right way. And that's the only way you're going to last in this business.
100%. And so again, something we're aware of that you've been doing is sort of adapting your offering and your product and all that sort of stuff. And is what you just said there about making making Nexgen a long-term project and a long-term business that's here for the long run, that's going to benefit people for the long run. Is that sort of tied in with some of the changes you've been making recently?
Yeah, and that's what I mean. We've made some changes just to make things easier on people. The DCA rules and maximum adverse excursion rules that a lot of people put on people. We've kind of removed that barrier because a lot of people scale into their trades, and it's kind of a two-pronged fork where it's easier for the trader when they can risk a lot. But for a firm that might copy their trades, it's unlimited risk. So we had to make, a few changes along the way where, we put a daily loss limit in at half of their maximum drawdown for each person. So if you're on a live account or semi-live account, we don't do cash accounts. We can get to that later. But short version is you have to protect the trader from blowing up, and you have to also protect yourself if you're going to be copying people. And what we've done is we've changed our payout model, because basically most people have the same thing. There's a cap. How much can you take? When can you take it? Et cetera, et cetera. And what we came up with, which I thought was pretty ingenious, we've got a payout doubling cap model. So you can, let's say you're on a $150K account. You can take a $2,500 payout. But if you get 8 payouts on that account, you go to a $5,000 payout. And then you get 8 more payouts, you go to a $10,000. And it just gives the client there's 2 types of people in the business. Those that are looking for consistent income over time, which is the ones we really want. And then there's the home run hitters that are just trying to make a bunch of money and get in, get out, blow accounts, whatever it takes. And what we're trying to do is curtail, if possible, the devastation model that a lot of people trade. I'll give you just an example. I had a guy, he scales in, he can go down 4 or 5 grand on his account because he's built up. We stopped trailing our drawdown once they hit the max drawdown amount in profit, we stopped trailing their drawdown. So if the trader trades on, they can have $25,000 or $30,000 or $40,000 before they ever hit a drawdown. And we were doing some unlimited risk copying, and some of these guys had a $25,000 per account loss day. And it stings. We've done it a couple times on accident. Second time was really my fault. Shouldn't have ever done it again. But what we wanted to do is we wanted to make it sustainable for ourselves and sustainable for the clients. So that way they can say, we start people out with 3 accounts on the semi-live. And so you can make $7,500 a payout, which is a pretty good chunk. And, then you're making 15 grand a payout. Then you're making 30 grand a payout. And we've set it up to where we kind of limit them in the beginning to 3 accounts, but we'll let people trade up to 10 live accounts if they're doing well. And, because since we built all of our structure and all of the back end on AMP, and actually believe it or not, the guy who wrote AMP Futures live trading technology, where when you place trades, routing orders, all of the stuff, he's the guy that wrote our back end. Or at least the connection portion of it. And we actually use the AMP Live real routing system with our trades. So you have to have contracts on the other side to get fills. It's exactly as if you were trading live money, which is a really, really good thing. We've all been on NinjaTrader where you have a stop and then you get stopped out. And you're like, wait a minute, it didn't go there. Or you hit buy and it fills you up here and it's like, didn't even go there. So we've eliminated all that.
I was going to say, for those who aren't as sort of technical, what's the sort of the net result of that for the actual trader?
Well, the net result, short version, is they have the most realistic trading account, as if they were trading, as if they open their own live money with AMP and they're trading on TradingView with AMP. It's exactly the same.
So cleaner execution, better pricing.
Very clear. I mean, better. Everybody gets the same pricing, so it's not necessarily better pricing because the exchange sends out the data. In futures, that's why we did futures. I know there's a lot of other types of prop firms out there, but futures is very fair. First in, first
Yeah.
fill. The routing engine is very, very fair. So, what we're focused on now is consistency and sustainability. And, if somebody goes and they trade well enough, all we have to do is click a button since we own the whole back end structure and we're copying their trading accounts. So we want people to get to that second tier, third tier payout where they're making a bunch of money. Because if you're making 10 grand an account, you've got 10 accounts, you can pull out $100 every 7 days, $100,000 every 7 days. So that's a pretty sizable chunk of money. And, that's where we end it at 4 times the cap. But, that's a sustainable growth model that the clients can go in and say to themselves, I know I'm going to make 40 grand this month if I do what I do and I hit my numbers. And, we also know that we're not going to have a lot of exposure because we're copying their trades. So there's a balance in there. A lot of firms don't copy anybody. And I don't think everybody should be copied. Let me go on the record just to say that. But there are some. I mean, I've got a client, Dave, maybe people see his trust pilots and stuff, but he's taken 7 payouts for about $79,000 worth so far. And he's one of our Nexgen software clients. So I know how he trades. I taught him how to trade. So these are the kinds of guys. I got a lot of our Nexgen clients that are doing really, really well. And those are the guys that we know we can copy because they're trading what we taught them with the software that we gave them. Didn't give them, we sold it to them, but you understand. So, so that's what we're looking for is the traders that aren't going for the home run, traders for going for consistency, going for a real paycheck to really make a living at this business. And they want to be around 20 years from now.
And it's almost like a microcosm of exactly why we put together the Rising Stars. And we've had this conversation. I think each time we've had this chat with the CEO, the ones that are talking about sustainable growth, being here in 5, 10, 20 years, are the ones that are organizing both themselves and treating their traders in a very different way to a lot of how some others in the industry might treat their traders. That kind of want the big hitters to come in and just kind of like rip through accounts left, right, and center. It's great that we have this kind of just plethora of firms that want to be here in 5, 10, 20 years time and want to take their traders with them on that journey as well, which is precisely why we built the Rising Stars in the first place, because we know there are firms out there like this that are vested in their traders' success.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, the more successful they are, the more successful we are. And, look, a lot of this business is created on churn and burn. And there's a lot of new traders out there. And, for all you guys who are new traders, you don't have to trade 15 contracts just because you're allowed to. Over leveraging, that's a killer in this business, and people do it all the time. The guys who make all the payouts are the ones who trade 2 contracts, make $500 a day, do it every day consistently, and they actually make a living at this. So those are the guys we're looking for.
It's really interesting that you mentioned about the other ways you make money. Obviously, you make money from the challenge fees, of course, and I think a lot of people have this understanding that a lot of prop firms are reliant upon failed challenges, and that's how you use the new money to pay payouts. And I don't think there's a lot of the industry, a lot of the audience, a lot of traders actually understand that. When prop firms say we want profitable traders, we want to support traders, I think there's this miscommunication and a misunderstanding of, okay, well, but if you're monetized through the acquisition of prop firm challenges, how in actuality do you want to support real traders? So I suppose, do you want to sort of talk about the copy trading in a little bit more detail, because I don't think a lot of people understand this, and
Sure.
and I think it puts firms in good stead to be able to say, actually, no, this is why we want to work with good traders.
Right, right. Well, and I want to go on record and say the majority of traders you don't want to copy. It's the business. There's a lot of new traders, young traders who are just gunslingers who aren't going to be really consistent. And,
Yep.
they'll learn their lesson over time on how to slow it down and become more consistent. But the copy trading, we have our own proprietary built into the back end copy trader. So our traders who are trading multiple accounts can turn it on and they can trade, whatever ratios they want. So if they have a 50K account and they've got a couple 150s, they can trade one or two or three times. And we actually use the same copier from the corporate side. The same logic, everything. And this is the reason we're not doing cash accounts. I know that there's a real big push, and we get asked this question every day. When do I get my cash account? When do I get my cash account? And the answer is never. And the reason why is because we've got a huge, we spent $1 million plus, more than that, a lot of money on building the infrastructure on the back end to be as good or better than what AMP's using in their real side. So, we want to kind of leverage that technology, and, you're not trading everybody. Some people get payouts and they do get paid by what you bring in, but then the other guys who are consistent, you don't want to keep paying these guys 15 grand every 7 days or 30 grand every 7 days out of your pocket, because it's just not sustainable. And, so what we're doing is we're kind of looking at, we've got a professional risk manager going through all this stuff too, but how many people do we need to copy? And, the other thing is, let's say Dave, I'll use his name. He's a great guy. He keeps going and keeps being consistent. We hit the button, trade twice as much as he, so if he trades a one lot, we trade two lot. If he trades 5, we trade 10. So he can make a bunch of money and we can make even more money. So, and I think that's selective copy trading. That's kind of an art form. And, one of the things that we've done at Nexgen Software is really, really dig into clients' trades. So we have them post a trade, win or lose. We analyze it, say, here's what you did right, here's what you did wrong, here's where you've been inconsistent. And we use that same logic, I guess, or experience. I mean, the least amount of experience at Nexgen ProTrader Funding have 18 years of business experience with us at the software side. So everybody's been with us on the software side. Our chat room runner's been with us forever. So we can recreate people's trades, look at them and go, good trader, bad trader, inconsistent trader. So, we use that skill on the copy side too.
I was going to say, what makes a good trader? And you're absolutely right. I think it's fair to say that, and I think most people know this, the majority of the industry aren't, they're not at the position where they could do this as a full-time career. Let's put it that way. And so from your perspective, to those listening out there who are sort of newer, they're finding their footing, what would you say to them? What is it that you're looking for? What advice can you give to these people to give them some good tips and some good things to live by, some good rules to go, this is what you need to do in order to become consistent, and this is the sort of thing we would look for?
Yeah. Two things. Number one, you have to have a strategy that makes money. In 2003, I worked with Mark Douglas, which a lot of people know of Mark Douglas for, he's passed away now, unfortunately, but worked with him every day for a year. And, we used to kind of battle on, the psychology side versus the methodology side. And, I'm a real big believer in you have to have a very consistent methodology that you can look at a chart and this year you take that trade, next year you take that same trade, the year after you take the same trade. And, a lot of people I think that are new, and this is, I don't give advice, but just maybe some words of wisdom. Pick a methodology and get really, really good at one thing. And, a lot of traders are trying momentum trades and counter trend trades and support and resistance and, supply and demand trades. And then they try this and then they try that. And, trend trading or momentum trading is the easiest, and because you're going with the market.
Yeah.
We teach. You can go on our website and download our trading plan and learn how to trade. Basically by reading through our website. But just the trick is small. If you really want to be a good trader, learn how to fly. We've had hundreds of pilots as clients over the years. The best day traders. If you want a profession that you can almost guarantee they're going to be a winner, pilots, because they go through the checklist, they follow the rules, they do
Yeah.
everything the right way. Most of them drink too much, but that's a whole nother problem. So the whole trick is have a methodology that you can consistently duplicate every day. The trades that we taught in 2004 are the same trades we teach today. So it's been decades we've been teaching the exact same thing. So when we look at a chart, you can see, you should be able to look at your chart and in 1 second go, there's my trade. And this is my trouble. There's where I'm going, and this is why. And then it really boils down to the psychology side of things. Because trading is a click, 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 click. You're a trader. It doesn't take anything to actually trade. So it's, between here is the number one thing. I would go online and watch every Mark Douglas video you can. Once you really internalize what he's teaching, it will make you a better trader, without question. But then, the advice is find one setup that works consistently and don't do anything else.
Yeah, so essentially it's a very binary thing. You either definitely know you're taking the trade because statistically you know that over the long run it's a profitable thing, or you don't. And just to clarify, because I think it's really, really, really interesting. So there is a step-by-step process that you've got available to anyone on your website that anyone can follow, and it's statistically profitable.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Without question, 100%. Therein lies the rub, though. If you follow it consistently,
Yeah.
and this is where we've also started some automation, software automation, in another trading room where we're doing some automated systems where we still do discretion, but there's a more automated tone. Where the rules are the rules are the rules, and it's very, very interesting. It's a new thing that we're doing because we've never really done automated trading systems. And anyway, it's just the people love it because when you automate your rules, you realize how few times they're actually true in a day. People are bored. They're like, wow, we're only doing 6 trades in a day. It's like, that's when the rules are true. And I think that's what every trader is trying to get to is, what is that rules true where I can commit my money, commit my time, buy the evaluations, pay for the upgrades, do what I need to do, and I realistically have an opportunity to make a living. And I think that's what everybody's searching for, is that holy grail. And there's no holy grail. There's some good stuff out there, but you have to start with a good methodology and then work on your psychology.
I think
as you said previously, sorry, Matt, as you said previously, some of your best traders are the most, forgive the expression, the most boring in terms of they are repeatable and consistent, but very often that is the counter narrative to the wider industry that wants to kind of whip up some hype around, whether it's kind of trading too much or just one more trade. So it's consistency over perfection each time.
So I was doing some payouts before we got on, and we always go through their trades and see what they're doing and see how they're doing it. And almost everybody who got paid, with one exception, does 2 or 3 trades a day. Take it for what it's worth. One guy did 208 in a day, but he went on tilt a little bit and hit it. But the guys who really get paid, they don't trade over leverage, and they only trade a few times a day. So if you're going to take a secret away from this is words of wisdom.
And I think one of the reasons why people struggle so much is there's so much information out there. Like you said, there's a million and one different ways to trade, most of which is completely discretionary. And I think one of the problems is that people haven't got the patience to go. Well, there's a couple of things actually. There's a patience thing, and there's, I don't know how to phrase it, but to be able to say, I'm going to do this one thing over and over and over and over and get enough data to see how it works. If they don't know from the bat or from the get-go that it's actually profitable, are people really going to spend a month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months testing the same thing day in, day out? Whereas with Nexgen, if they know, if you can say that this strategy, this sort of step-by-step checkbox is profitable, these
Mm,
people can go on there and go, I know that this is something that people who are making a lot of money are using. That's so valuable. But
yeah,
I think that's why people struggle because they go, right, I'm going to test this strategy like ICT, fair value gaps, whatever it might be. And they
right.
try it for X amount of time. It could be a day, it could be 2 days, it could be a week. They haven't got enough statistically significant data to say this works, and people just haven't got the patience. So for you to provide something like that, where you can confidently say, if people stick to this and are just consistent, I think
Right.
that's really, really valuable.
Yeah, no, it is valuable. And, so I read a statistic the other day because I was curious. 93% of people who enroll in med school pass and graduate. 93%. And obviously the flip is true on day traders for the most part. It's 93% fail. And what you were talking about really is the difference. If you're a med student, number one, you're committed. You're
Yeah.
50, 100 grand a year committed, the school committed, or, if you're on whatever you're doing in the medical profession, but to get 4 or 8 years under your belt, you're committed. And you're committed with the money, the amount of study time that you put in to get your doctorate, or any type of profession really, whether you're an engineer or what, the amount of time you have to put in is what most new traders don't really understand. They
Mm,
think of it as casino gambling, learn a couple tips and tricks, and I can go make a bunch of money. And when you really think about who's running the market, the big boys, we all talk about them. We're all part of them, but the big boys who run the money, they all do very, very similar things.
mm,
When I was developing my software, I was really good friends with a floor trader. His name was Ron in the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. And we would talk. He had bought our software, and we would talk every day in the morning. And I said, when I was developing the software and finishing it, and I said, look, I'm going to tell you the 3 levels above the market and below the market where your guys, Deutsche Bank and Merrill Lynch and all the big boys, are going to do tens of thousands of contracts. He said, okay. So every day I called down there and I said, here's your 6 levels, 3 above, 3 below. And when I had them nailed every day on what those guys were going to be doing, I knew we had done something pretty good. And I think even that, I mean, I spent 6 months double checking myself before we
mm.
even got started. And if you get a new trader who spends 6 months on something before they start trading, they'd be a very rare commodity.
Yeah.
Most of them jump in. They're like, most people jump in. They're like, oh, I didn't even read the rules. And
Yeah.
they're like, oh, I didn't know you had that rule. It's like, yeah, it's posted. It's under rules. But I think having a very rules-based approach to your prop firm, rules-based approach to your trading, and then slow it down. Imagine if Elon Musk said, look, I'm going to give you $5,000 every time XYZ happens and you push this button. And
Yeah.
if XYZ doesn't happen and you push the button, you're fired. And as
Yeah.
long as XYZ happens, you push the button every single time, no matter what happens, I'm going to pay you 5 grand.
Yeah.
Who wouldn't take that job? So that's trading.
Mm,
Trading has the ability to pay you 500 or 1,000 or $5,000 a day every day,
mm.
without question, without losing days most of the time, as long as you do XYZ and you do it every single time. And that's where kind of the trader rubber meets the road, where can you do XYZ every time after
Yeah.
you've lost 3? And as you said, the new traders don't have enough experience to know, am I just screwing it up or does it not work? And then they jump from ship to ship to ship. And let me find
But they
another
also
Discord.
don't want to hear that as well. There's a certain
Yeah,
amount of people that just don't want to hear that. I don't want to hear it's going to be hard. I don't want to
Mm.
know
yeah,
that it's going to take me 6 months of graft
yeah,
to get to the point at which I might just start getting to understand what it is. Some people just don't have that patience. And I think it goes back to what you were saying about the strategy versus the psychology. If you don't have the psychology to stick with something for long enough, you are never going to land on the one thing or
Mm.
get it to the point at which it is good. So
right.
there's a lot of people out there with their fingers in their ears, I think, in the prop trading space.
Yeah. So, and it's interesting watching people trade, and because I'm like, ooh, sometimes I watch their live trades, and it's like, please don't do that.
Yeah,
But everybody's different, and look, if we were all the same, you'd never get a fill. So
absolutely.
there'd be
Yeah, very
nobody to
true.
do trade. So everybody, counter trend traders, momentum traders, different time frame traders, everybody's got their place in the business. What you have to do as a trader is say, this is my piece. And once you really make that decision and say, this is my piece and I'm going to take it, you've got the foundation to start building your business. And that's really what I'm looking for is even in the prop space is trying to figure out exactly where our space is and how to do
Mm.
things. So clients are happy and making money and we're happy and making money. That's the only win-win combination that works. If everybody makes money, everybody wins. If
Absolutely.
only one side makes money, either you get the rug pull or you go out of business for losing all your money, but or you're taking so much money from people that don't want to do business with you. So, there's a real good balance in there that you have to hit in order to be successful.
I think the med school analogy you used is really interesting because you leave university. Well, over here you got university or college in the US or whatever it is. I'm not sure what the sort of the schooling progression is, but if you're going to med school, you know that you are learning from people who are experiencing what they're doing, and they are a certified authority because they
Mm,
100% wouldn't be teaching medicine if they didn't know what they were talking about. So
right.
if you know for a fact you're learning from people who know exactly what they're talking about, and you can just regurgitate the information, recall the information you're being told, that is what breeds consistency. Whereas you compare
Yeah.
that to trading, you got some
12
some
million
young
people.
some young guy who just goes on YouTube and has no idea who's an authority. Let's be honest, a lot of these sort of influencers probably aren't who they say they are, probably aren't getting results. You have no idea who to trust, and it's that ambiguity in who to trust and what to trust that prevents people from going, I'm going to stick to this.
Right.
If with this, like I say, going back to what you've got on your website, I'm really looking forward to myself actually sort of digging into it. With that standardized, we know this works, and I think that's the difference. That's why, because medicine's going to be really bloody hard. It's not an easy thing to do.
Yeah.
But with that systemized approach, learning from someone who is an authority, you go, okay, I can trust them. And I'm going to regurgitate that. I think that's what's
Right.
missing on the trading side of things, and that's the primary difference that makes the 7% on one side, the 7% on the other. If you see what I mean.
Yeah. And I mean, look, our pitch was always the same. Start out on simulator, get your rules, practice your rules, and everybody's a simulator millionaire. It's so easy to push the button and make money.
Yeah.
But once you've actually established your rules, then you can say, okay, let me open up a prop account.
Yeah.
And back then it was open up 5 or 10 grand of your own money and good luck to
Mm.
you. Which got very expensive. I probably lost 250 grand just starting off. Learn how to trade and anyway, I think everybody's got that same horror story. And now in the prop space, you get your method and then you say, okay, now I'm ready to try it. And you blow out your account. And then you're like, okay, what did I do right? What did I do wrong? And there's a real process that everybody has to go through. Almost nobody gets their first prop account and then starts making payouts. It
Yeah.
doesn't happen. So there's a process that you have to go through in order to earn your way. There's no high paying job on the planet that doesn't have a lot of work that goes into it.
Mm.
If there is one, I don't know, lotto winner maybe,
Yeah.
but Other than that, everything is a job. It's work. And when these kids, I say kids, now I'm 56, well, I'm 57. I see 18-year-olds, 19, 20-year-olds, a lot of them trading, and they think, they're also happy if they make 1,500 bucks a month or two
Mm.
grand a month. So, I guess it's a little bit perspective. That's more of a every couple hours kind of thing for the more seasoned people. But, the idea is I'm going to be rich and I'm going to be rich quick. Just get that out of your head. It's not realistic.
Here's,
Consistently make a little bit of money every day, and that's how you're successful.
it's actually a really good thought experiment. So imagine someone had gone through the simulator or started sim trading, and they're dialed in their psychology and their strategy, and they could go, I know exactly what I'm looking for within 1 second, like you said. How long do you think it would take for someone to make that? People say, the 10 grand a month mark.
Right.
How long do you think? And again, I'm not holding you to this, obviously. It's probably a
It's okay. I'm
complete.
saying the number. I know it. So go ahead and ask your question.
How quickly, starting with one account, they buy one account and then scaling to two and three. How long after dialing in do you think that
Right.
someone could get to that figure, trading with Nexgen?
Dialing in, let me back up half a second. One of the things that we do in our room is we always did feedback on trades.
Mhm.
And traders would take a trade that they thought fit the rules perfectly.
Mhm.
And when they posted it in for analysis and feedback, they're like, you did this wrong, you saw that
Mm.
wrong. This is where the rules said do this. And, so people have, I don't know what the perfect term for it is, but they have a bit of a blind spot.
Yeah.
When you look at a chart, you only see the winners. Oh,
Mm.
if I only bought down there, if I only would have sold up here. So it's that right edge of the chart work that people have to do. And, some people, if they really have a good methodology, let's say ours, because it's simple rules, it's a few checklists and you can do some trades. I've had people do it in 2 or 3 months. It only takes a couple hours to learn the rules. That's not the hard part. The
Wow.
hard part is consistently applying the rules every day over and over and over. So for most traders, that takes about 6 months.
Mm.
So, to dial in a method if they're brand new to a method. So 6 months, and then they actually become better traders over the next year, and then they become better traders the next year. And there's never a trader that I've ever met who said that they quit learning.
Mm.
So it's a lifelong journey that you're going to keep doing forever and ever and ever. And this is why you have to, quit trading 15 contracts and blowing yourself out with a couple of
Yeah.
bad trades. Trade small, trade consistently, do the same thing every day. And, getting to $10,000 a month is very easy. It's $500 a day.
Yeah. And
I mean,
let's be honest as well. 6 months is not a long time. Like going back to the sort of the med school analogy. I'm not sure what it is over in the States, but over here I've got a friend going through university. It's 6 years. So
yeah,
that's
60.
6 years, and then he'll have to get a job in just a random practice somewhere that they're telling him to work. And
Yeah.
when you compare that to 6 months of just consistency, it's not a big ask.
No, no. And the other thing is it's once you get trading down to where you can make 500 a day, it's scalable.
Mm,
You can trade 10 accounts. You can
yeah.
trade five prop firms with 10 accounts each or whatever the max is, and use copiers. And, you
Mm,
know, I mean, I say with a copier, you have to be a little bit careful because if you have one bad day on one account, you blow them all out. So,
mm,
sometimes I say copy trade, when you're on a good streak, and then when you're not, kind of turn it off. And anyway, that's a whole nother ball of wax. But yeah, I mean, here it's the same thing, 6, 8 years of college to get a degree. And then you get out and you're like, you might make 80 grand, 100,000 a year,
yeah.
but you're not making a million.
Yeah.
So everybody who I talk to, and there's a bunch of, the 20 somethings, they want to make a million a year. And if they're not making a million a year, they're not happy. And, and I always tell them, look, go find a real job where they're going to pay you a million a year because you know nothing.
Mm, yeah.
And they're like, well, that won't happen. It's like, it won't happen in trading either. The guys that know everything are taking your money from you. So, so you have to
Well,
pay your dues and learn.
can I change tack slightly and just go back to one of the kind of honestly one of your opening comments? Because I think there's sometimes a bit of a perception, especially in kind of the slightly formative years, shall we say, that the road to opening a prop firm is dead easy. People selling off the shelves, really, dare I say it, shoddily put together, packaged prop firms, and anyone become a prop firm CEO, and before you know it, it's a license to print money. And actually, you
Yeah.
said, oh, we spent X amount of, I think you said 1 million, just doing some of the kind of the back end work and the software
Yeah.
behind Nexgen. Just want to kind of
Yeah.
talk about that as a almost like as a project and try and break that kind of perception that I could just turn around and I might knock up my own prop firm, for example.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because, I was actually approached by a group of investors that wanted to do prop firm. And they said, that was introduced from somebody that used to work for me forever. And he said, these guys want to go in and be the financial backers for a prop firm. And I think you have everything that you need to do it. And so I said, okay, I looked at the whole thing, studied the whole thing. And um, to really build a good prop firm and to really understand the risk and the money and everything else, it takes a lot. You got to have millions of dollars in the bank. If you don't have millions of dollars at your disposal, you're not flipping on a prop firm, or you can, and you may get some influencers and run up a bunch of money and then disappear. But if you're really going to do a sustainable model, it's millions of dollars and just plan on spending a year before you get started. That's about what it takes. So, it's Ninja Trader makes it a little easier when, we got an application in. So hopefully they say, yeah, sure, bring on Ninja. It should be pretty easy for us to flip on the back end because they provide the back end stuff. So we just have to tie it in. But, we don't have to build a prop firm when we add somebody on. So, and then there's the other option of, do we want to do Forex? Do we want to add on some other instruments, cryptos or something like that in the future? So, we built the platform open ended so we can add in these things should we decide to do that. So, we've got to get the
You
model
give
right
people
first and get everybody happy and everything
Yeah.
finely tuned before you start thinking about that. But we've thought about it already.
And how big's your team? Just give people a flavor for kind of like the amount of people behind the scenes at NextGen.
6 programmers and 8 people right now. So 8 people can handle all the work. And if you automate, it's all about automation these days. When prop firms go, we have 500 people working for us. It's like, really? Customer support, you got to have great customer support. That's the number one thing. We talk to people, they can hit us in the Discord, they can get to us directly. We call people. We actually call people and log onto their computers and help them when they can't figure something out. So, and I think that level of customer service, which we've had forever at NextGen, has spilled over into the prop space. And, read through our reviews and you'll see number one is customer service and people taking care of business. And as long as people feel like they're being taken care of and they've got a fair deal, they're going to stay with you a long time. And that's a good recipe, I believe.
Absolutely. And someone that I used to work with many years ago said that you can't beat a small team of highly motivated individuals. They will out-deliver and outperform a gaggle of people who are just in it for a job every day of the week. So it's
And most of the people that work for us are named Novak. So, we've got really most of and we've got Novaks in the wing waiting to get on. So, it's really a very family-based business. And we always like to tell people they're in the NextGen family. And, that's, we use that quite a bit and it's really true.
That's awesome. I suppose before we wrap up, give an elevator pitch as to why people should choose NextGen.
Obviously we're different because we're combining the funding with 30 years worth of education and trader training experience. Our goal is not to build churn and burn, get your money and get you out the door. We really want to help serious traders develop skills consistency. We want them to grow over time as we grow. And we really, we've built it so it's professional trading. And everybody says that, oh, we got a realistic trading environment, but, we really work very, very hard to make sure that, the data stream, the fills, the platforms, everything that we do is exactly as if you were trading a live account. And, I think with our experience, we can help anybody through any situation, whether they say, I need to learn how to trade better, or I need to do better with my money management. I have traders that ask us questions all the time. He's like, here's my plan, and I don't know what I'm doing wrong. And I said, well, number one, your plan is no good, so we need to work on that. We actually really care about people, and we really work with our traders that want to work with us, obviously, on a daily basis. So, the customer support and the family friendly atmosphere, I guess, along with a very realistic trading environment, and not hit and run. We're not giving you $1 million up front, and we're not going to promise you, 50 accounts and you're going to be able to have unlimited funds. There's a cap. Here's what your paycheck is going to be. And if you do this job and you make $350 a day, you're going to hit your numbers every time. So just really providing that consistent structure for people, I think, is one of the biggest things, because most people don't have it.
And you know what? All throughout this conversation, those sentiments have really shined through. And I think I speak for both Ross and I to say that we're so happy to have sort of been introduced. We're so happy to have you on Rising Stars, and we're so happy to it. We're excited to see where Nexgen is going to go, because all of those qualities really shine through. And I hope that everyone listening understands why Nexgen is going to be massive and they should work with you. So yeah.
And I appreciate you guys for doing this. I think it's really important for people to hear from the real people, the people that are in charge, the people who are controlling, the purse strings. And I think the more people learn about the business and the people who run the business, the more comfortable they're going to feel. So I really appreciate you guys doing this.
You're welcome. I had just one more question before we go. You mentioned that trading strategy. Would you jump on a call or a series of calls, or maybe jump in our Discord and do a little series with us where you run through the strategy? I think that'd be really, really massively valuable.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime I'll be more than, I love when I get on there, man, I love doing it. I love, I personally ran the room for 15 years. So, I love teaching, and I love showing people how to make money, and how simple it can be. Really, I mean, that's, we'll have one trade. I'll pick one trade. We'll do one trade, and you'll see it just make money over and over and over and over. And it's just, when we show it to people, it's really hard to believe. They have a hard time believing in it first. And I always tell people, look, disprove it. Prove to me it doesn't work, and I'll be surprised. But anyway, that's the hard thing, is getting people to spend enough time to try to prove or disprove a method. But I would love to do that. Absolutely.
Well, let's get that set
up. It's not a 4-day seminar, though, right?
Maybe not a full day. Yeah. I think an hour, maybe. Sometimes they run a little long, but a full hour and 15 minutes is probably sufficient. If it takes to explain your methodology, it's too difficult.
Right. Thanks so much, John. Really, really appreciate your time.
Pleasure, John. Appreciate it. You guys have a great day, and anytime I'll be more than happy to have another one of these.
Would love to.
Appreciate it. Love to.
All right. Take care, guys.